The world is full of accessible waterways, and there was a time when the only way to get from one country to another, if they weren't separated by seas or oceans, was by ship. This required having a great deal of faith in the ships from place to place, but occasionally they sank, and when that happened, they didn't just lose lives, they lost treasure. From San Jose to the Florida coast, these are the 10 largest sunken treasures ever discovered. Number 10. The term sunken treasures may evoke images of how certain treasure stories are portrayed in movies, leading some to believe that such treasures are unreal. To dispel this notion, allow me to tell you about the San Jose, a ship that had goods valued at a staggering $22 billion when it sank in 1708. It's possible that you're thinking that it must have been a really big ship, and you're right. This was a massive Spanish galleon that required 600 people to operate. They all perished with it and were lost for 300 years, until the ship and all of its gold were miraculously found. More precisely, the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute in Massachusetts discovered the ship after it was submerged off the coast of Colombia in water that was 1,800 feet deep. Talk about a deep dive. There's more to the story than you might realize because, despite the fact that the ship was found, it was kept a secret for a while for a variety of reasons, not the least of which was that if word spread too soon that it had been found, looters, robbers, and pirates would attempt to obtain the gold. As for who exactly owns the gold, that is still up for dispute as there is a protracted legal battle ongoing. Number 9. It may surprise you to hear that Florida isn't just a place of gorgeous, Disney-esque old people, crocodiles, and crazy people. No, Florida is also known for having treasure, sometimes even floating onto the shore. In this case, the treasure from an infamous fleet of Spanish ships was found precisely 300 years after it sank, thanks to a group of treasure hunters who were searching the coast of Florida for a large number of gold coins. Granted, the enormous hull of the previous submission was more valuable, but receiving $4.5 million in gold coins is still a respectable consolation prize. The over 350 coins that were found were only a portion of the treasure that the Spanish ships had on them, which kind of makes you wonder where the rest is. The haul was discovered by a 3-man crew on board the Brisbane boat SV Capitana off of Vero Beach, Florida. Even they were amazed at the condition of the coins, even pointing out that some of the gold coins they found couldn't have been put in the water the day before based on how shiny they were. Number 8. There have been numerous odysseys to find various treasures around the world, and the Black Swan project was one of them. They discovered not only hauls of treasure but also a ship named Nuestra Senora de la Mercedes that capsized during the Battle of Cape Santa Maria, making it a prime target. In addition, similar to the previous entry, they discovered gold and silver, but this story has a twist in that they discovered enough gold and silver coins to weigh up to 17 tons. That is a significant amount of actual coins. The ship was one of several doomed ships that the Spanish attempted to send from South America to Europe, and the British shot it down with all of its treasure inside. This made it even more impressive that the Black Swan project not only found the ship but also recovered all of its treasure, though it would have cost them over $2 million because these treasure hunting projects aren't cheap. Nevertheless, the reward would undoubtedly be worth it. Number 7. The story of this ship is undoubtedly one of the more well-known ones because of who ended up finding it, not just some random person or even a well-planned project, but rather a legendary explorer of the deep-sea world named Mel Fisher. I know that all these ships may sound the same, but the Nuestra Senora de Atacho was a different Spanish vessel that sank with a hoard of treasure on it. In fact, there were truly a lot of Spanish vessels that lost treasure, and it almost makes you feel bad for them because they clearly lost a lot. The ship itself was sunk by a hurricane in 1622, and only 5 men who were on board survived the shipwreck. It was submerged, untouched, for hundreds of years until Fisher would find it. So what exactly was on this vessel? How about a whopping 40 tons of gold and silver and about 70 pounds of Colombian emeralds? To be clear, these were extremely valuable emeralds that people drool over and want for themselves. Although finding the ship was the result of years of searching, and he only found small remnants of the original treasure, history was made in a positive way when he did find it in 1980. Number 6. This is good news because I'm not going to discuss another Spanish ship that went down. Instead, I'll talk about a pirate ship, in this case the White Gallant. Well, to be honest, it was originally intended to be a slave ship. However, on the ship's maiden voyage, it was hijacked by the notorious Black Sam Bellamy while it was traveling to Jamaica. From there, things got very piratey, as you might expect, as they proceeded to raid various ships, took what they could, and moved on. They eventually traveled to the New World, where it is said that Bellamy's lady was waiting for him. However, by then, according to legend, they were too drunk to navigate the ship, so they sailed straight into a storm that seemingly sank the ship. Only 2 crew members would survive, and the legend claimed that the ship's cargo included the remains of treasure from 53 other vessels. This just goes to show how skilled the pirate Bellamy was. Over time, many people would search for the ship, and over 200 artifacts had been recovered from it. Number 5. Today, every precaution is taken to ensure the safe transportation of valuables like gold, but in the past, this was not always the case. This brings us to the story of the SS Central America steamship, which, over 150 years ago, carried approximately $50 million worth of gold coins and bars before mysteriously disappearing, making it one of the greatest lost treasures in American history and creating a fantastic legend. Eventually, the ship was discovered, and the final total of what was on it included 3,100 gold coins, 45 gold bars, and more than 80 pounds of gold dust, a truly amazing amount of gold dust. The irony, however, doesn't end there. The contents of the vessel were eventually displayed in a museum, and among those who discovered it was Bob Evans. Yes, just like in the restaurant, Evans was the lead scientist on that expedition, and when the gold was ready for display, he personally went and cleaned everything so that it would be perfect for presentation. Oh, and if you're wondering why it took so long to find, that would be because it was discovered at a depth of roughly 7,000 feet below sea level, which meant that a lot of grime and other debris had gotten onto the vessel and the gold, necessitating a thorough cleaning before it was displayed. Number 4. The British Treasury ship Germanapa is a prime example, though I'll give it a pass on this one since it was shot down by an enemy ship for the most basic of reasons. The Germanapa was built in 1941 and would occasionally try to find shelter because its fuel was running low. The United States hasn't been the only country to go looking for lost vessels carrying significant payloads of money all over the place. Why was it a bad decision? It eventually ran into a German U-boat, and the U-boat did what it did best. It fired upon the vessel, sinking it. This meant that its contents, which included 7 million ounces of silver, were lost to the depths. The depths beyond 13,000 feet below sea level, and that too in the North Atlantic, which isn't the best place to find yourself thinking in. Eventually, the group Odyssey Marine Exploration was tasked with finding the vessel and its lost treasure, and they succeeded. The modern value of that said treasure was over $200 million. Talk about the spoils of war. Number 3. The Antikythera shipwrecks are, to be honest, one of the most significant historical discoveries for a number of reasons, not the least of which being that the shipwreck in question was a Greek vessel from the 1st century BC, making it extremely old. It was found by accident near the island of Antikythera, and it was found because of a group of Greek sponge divers. Apparently, they were traveling to Tunisia when they realized they were in trouble due to a storm, so they sought shelter. When they descended, they discovered a Greek cargo ship in the depths. After investigating it for themselves, they eventually informed the Greek Navy, and over 2 years of expeditions were conducted to extract the treasure, which was eventually placed in Greece's National Archaeological Museum in Athens. But wait, there's more. Later on, only Jacques Cousteau was able to go and film his own expedition of the ship, and when he did, he discovered even more artifacts than the Greeks, proving why you should leave things to the experts. Number 2. Many ships have traveled the world during the age of exploration, particularly those that were trying to trade with India and other Far Eastern nations. Because it was the only option available to them, these ships, like the Emerald, had an abrupt end to their time on the water, which is why so many people went in search of it, not only for its historical significance, but also for the treasures it was thought to contain. A few years later, a group of divers and hunters who had been searching for the Emerald discovered a 500-year-old ship off the coast of Oman. The ship had much more inside than you're probably picturing, including gold massive cannonballs, the ship's bell, and an enigmatic artifact that was initially difficult to identify. All of this just serves to illustrate the fact that sometimes you have to go down to find something in order to discover what's there, and that's how some of the greatest treasures have ever been found at all. Number 1. This one is unique for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that, although most of you imagine sunken treasure to be made of gold, silver, or jewels, The biggest treasures for historians and archaeologists are actual pieces of history that were washed away by the world's waters. One such example is the city of Heraklion. If you've never heard of it, don't feel bad. It was located in Egypt and was lost more than 2,000 years ago. The irony in this situation is multifaceted. At one point, it was Egypt's largest port city, indicating that it was not only a populous area, but also a significant hub for trade with all the neighboring countries. However, how could such a large metropolis simply disappear beneath the waves? Historians believe that the city's foundation was weakened over time by a variety of natural disasters, such as earthquakes, floods, and tsunamis. It is believed that eventually a massive flood reached Egypt, submerging the buildings. What was left of the city, however, was altered. When it was rediscovered, it was designated as a historical site, and to this day, an increasing number of treasures from that lost city are being unearthed and displayed to the public. Can you believe the number of ships that went down with treasure on board? Do you find it amazing that so many people have discovered these treasures and have gone on to become wealthy as a result? How many more treasures are hidden away in the deep? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Also, don't forget to check out the other amazing content that is currently on the screen. See you next time.